I came back from the funeral, my heart racing. I was gonna tell my son and Dill that my dad left me 3 farms and a house by the sea. But I heard their voices behind the door, and what I heard next froze my blood. My name is Callum Reed. I am 51 years old, a construction project supervisor, a man who has always believed that hard work would keep a family together, yet I have learned the hard way that sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who sharpen the knife behind your back. I raised my son Marcus on my own after his mother passed away when he was 8, and now he is 29, married to a woman named Jasmine, a woman I once thought God himself had handpicked for him. I trusted them both, perhaps too much, and today, as I walked back into my house after attending my father's funeral, everything I believed about family shattered into pieces sharper than glass. I had just buried my father 2 hours earlier, and my heart was still racing from everything the lawyer had told me. My dad, a quiet man who kept his affairs to himself, had left me 3 farms, a house by the sea, and a sizable amount of money. He said in the will that he wanted me to have a chance to rest from the years I spent breaking my back raising Marcus alone. I came home with the intention to share the news with my son and daughter-in-law, thinking they would hug me, console me, sit with me in my grief, and then, maybe, feel happy that our family had finally caught a little break. But God has a way of revealing truth at the exact moment you think you are safe. When I stepped into the hallway and heard their voices behind the door, I froze. Their tones were low, sharp, and nothing like the comforting whispers of a supportive family. What I heard next made my blood turn cold, as if someone had replaced it with ice water. Jasmine's voice came first, smooth but cruel. She said, "He is too emotional right now, just give him a few days, then we convince him to transfer everything to us. He trusts you blindly. And after what I told you to do last year, we already know he is easy to manipulate." Then my son's voice, my own blood, responded with a laugh I had never heard before. "Dad is an old fool, babe. Once the properties are in my name, we can move, sell everything, and he can stay here alone. He won't even know what hit him." I covered my mouth to stop myself from gasping. My knees felt weak. I pressed closer to the door, unable to believe I was listening to the voices of the 2 people I would have died for. Then Jasmine continued, "And remember, make him feel guilty, remind him how much we've helped him these last months, he will believe anything you say. After all, didn't he believe you last year when we lied about needing that money for medical bills?" My heart broke afresh. I had given them $18,000 from my savings for those fake bills. I stepped back from the door before I collapsed. Every memory of us sitting at the dinner table, every birthday I paid for, every time I babysat their baby girl so they could rest, all of it replayed in my mind like a cruel movie. I felt stupid, used, stripped of dignity. I had just buried my father, and now it felt like I was burying the last piece of love I had left for my son. I slowly walked into the living room and sat on the edge of the couch, breathing hard, sweating cold, shaking. I needed a moment to think, to gather the remaining pieces of the man I used to be before grief and betrayal crushed me in a single day. I thought about confronting them immediately, screaming, demanding answers, but something in me said no. Something deeper, older, a voice only pain can awaken. Revenge does not shout, it whispers. It waits. I wiped my tears and made a decision that changed everything. I wouldn't confront them. Not yet. I would let them think I was the same gentle father they could manipulate, and I would let them walk right into their own trap. A few minutes later, I stood up, straightened my jacket, and walked toward their room. I knocked lightly on the door, pretending I had just arrived. They opened it with innocent smiles, smiles that now sickened me. Jasmine hugged me softly and said, "Dad, you are shaking. Come sit, we were just talking about how worried we are about you." I smiled back, though my heart was burning like fire. Marcus asked, "Did everything go okay with the lawyer?" His eyes gleamed with curiosity, greed hiding behind them. I told them calmly, "Yes, everything went exactly as Dad wanted. He left me some things, small things, nothing big, but enough to remember him by." Jasmine's smile faltered for a second, the disappointment flashed in her eyes before she controlled it. I noticed it, every second of it. I acted tired and excused myself to my room. That night I didn't sleep. I was planning, thinking, rearranging everything in my mind. Revenge wasn't just an option now, it was the only way I could breathe again. The next morning, I left early and went to the lawyer's office. I asked him to transfer everything, all the farms, the money, and the beach house, into a trust with one condition, that only I could access it, and that my son and his wife were to be legally barred from claiming anything unless I willingly handed it over. Then I asked for another document to be prepared, one that looked real enough to fool the greedy. It was a fake transfer draft, something that looked like I was ready to hand over everything. The lawyer understood exactly what I was doing, and he didn't judge me. When life breaks you, even strangers sometimes understand your pain better than your own blood. I went home with the envelope in my hand. When I walked in, Jasmine rushed to me, pretending to be caring, offering me breakfast. Marcus asked casually, "Dad, did you take care of everything today?" I nodded and sat down. I told them I needed time and that I wanted to talk to them the next day about something important. Their eyes flickered with excitement they tried to hide, and that was the moment I knew how deeply they had fallen into the trap. That night, I watched them from the hallway as they sat in the living room discussing plans, Jasmine saying she wanted to renovate the beach house, Marcus saying he wanted to sell the farms first, because old people's land is always valuable. They talked like vultures circling a dying animal. I walked away in disgust. The next day, I called them into the living room. They sat eagerly. I sighed deeply, acting broken, acting like the same naive man they thought I was. I told them Dad had left more than I expected, 3 farms, a beach house, and some money. Their eyes widened. Jasmine's hand squeezed Marcus's knee. I pulled out the fake documents and laid them on the table. I told them I didn't know what to do with everything and that maybe Marcus could help me manage it. Jasmine's face lit up like someone had handed her a crown. Marcus leaned forward, hungry, ready to take what he thought was his. They didn't even try to hide their excitement. I asked Jasmine to bring me some water. When she left the room, I looked at Marcus and said, "Son, I hope you always do right by me." He nodded confidently and grabbed the papers, flipping through them, already dreaming about the future he planned to build on top of my broken trust. When Jasmine returned, they both sat next to each other, smiling like winners. And that was when I stopped acting. I stood up, my voice steady, my eyes cold. I said, "Everything you have been planning behind that door, I heard it. Every word, every lie, every betrayal." Their smiles cracked instantly. Marcus stood up quickly, stuttering. Jasmine froze with fear in her eyes. I continued, "You think I am a fool, you think grief makes a man blind, but it opens his eyes wider than ever." Jasmine tried to speak first, blurting excuses, lies, trying to twist the story, but I raised my hand and she fell silent. Marcus began shaking, his mask falling off completely. I told them everything, word for word, repeating the poison they had whispered about me. They panicked. Marcus dropped to his knees, begging, crying, promising it was all Jasmine's idea, Jasmine pointing fingers back at him. Watching them blame each other was the saddest part, because I once believed they loved each other. But greed kills love long before it kills relationships. I picked up the fake documents slowly and ripped them in half. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. I told them the truth, that everything had already been placed in a trust, legally untouchable, and they would never get a single thing from it. Not now, not ever. Jasmine let out a scream. Marcus cried harder. I walked toward the door, ready to leave them in their mess, but then I turned back and delivered the final blow. I said, "Since you only saw me as a burden standing between you and some property, let me set you free. Get out of my house by tonight. Both of you. I may have lost my father, but I will not lose myself." Jasmine tried to hold my arm. Marcus begged again, but I pushed their hands away. For years I had been gentle, forgiving, supportive, but betrayal builds a different kind of strength. They packed their things through tears and anger, and by nightfall, they were gone. It has been months since that day. I spend my mornings on one of the farms now, breathing clean air, listening to the soft wind that carries my father's memory. I walk along the beach house porch in the evenings, watching the waves wash away the footprints of yesterday's pain. I am healing. It hurts, but I am healing. Marcus sends messages sometimes, long ones, short ones, desperate ones, blaming Jasmine, apologizing, begging to come back into my life. I never blocked him, but I never replied either. Sometimes love does not die from lack of trying, it dies from the wounds of betrayal, and mine were too deep to reopen. Jasmine, from what I heard, left him a month later when she realized he had nothing. She found someone else quickly. Betrayal is her language, but my son, my only son, still has to live with the fact that he tried to destroy the man who raised him with everything he had. That is a punishment life will keep for him forever. And me, Callum Reed, I learned that strength is not always in forgiving, sometimes it is in walking away with dignity, even when your heart is bleeding. I survived grief, I survived betrayal, and I survived the cruelty of my own blood. But I also learned that revenge does not always need rage, sometimes it only needs truth, patience, and the courage to let people face the consequences of the traps they built for others. My father left me his land, but life left me a lesson: never hand your heart to someone who sees you as a stepping stone. And now, as I sit on my porch watching the sea breathe in and out like an old friend, I know for the first time in decades I am free, free from lies, free from manipulation, and free from the illusion that blood always means loyalty. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me, what would you have done if you were in my place?